Today we're going to be talking about the principle of stewardship from a little bit different angle. We're going to be looking at what it means to invest in a way that is not impulsive, but rather based on a key biblical principle that we talk a lot about here at Lord and Richards. And that is the principle found in Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gained hastily will diminish or dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Now, if you tune into this show regularly, you'll know that we often discuss the principle of risk management from this verse, reminding ourselves that, trying to invest in get-rich-quick schemes will generally end in disaster, as opposed to those who save little by little over time. So we generally look at this from a risk management standpoint, and that's true. But today we're going to look at it from a little bit different standpoint. We're going to talk about how to think like a billionaire, not so that you can become a billionaire necessarily. God may have that for a handful of people out there, but primarily so that we understand how money compounds, how money develops into a large wealth pool over time. And we're going to use some examples. First of all, what we've discovered is that the people who have been most successful in accumulating wealth have got a plan in place. They've got a written plan in place. And you know that at Lord & Richards, we're all about getting you a written financial independence roadmap so that you're financially independent from your job and can do what God's called you to do, to spend time with the people that you love, doing the things that you love for His kingdom and glory. A great story about this, I recently saw a movie on this about Richard Williams. He was the father of Venus and Serena Williams. Many of you know them from tennis fame. And if you followed their careers at all, his name would come up as kind of the force behind their success. Of course, they had great ability, put in great effort, but they also had a father who was willing to lead them down a path that would allow them to fully explore and develop their abilities. And Richard was known for having a plan. And it was interesting in the movie because he had a poster up there in the slums of Los Angeles on the chain link fence, right where the girls could see it as they hit the ball over the net. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Really remarkable because we've done a lot of looking into that principle. And so let me just remind you that the greatest outcomes come as a result of planning, and especially writing things down like that poster on the back of the chain link fence. You and I can get things written down that help us better achieve our goals financially and in other areas of life. Once you have a plan in place, what you want to do is not make radical, sudden, dramatic financial moves. I think we can best illustrate this from the world of piloting. My wife has her pilot's license, and her father had his pilot license before her. They both flew small planes, Cessna 310 and so forth. And I remember my father-in-law teaching that, one of the principles when you're flying a plane is to make small adjustments. Now, we're not talking about fighter pilots in jets doing dogfights. We're talking about people just trying to get from one point to another to reach the destination. And we learned that in piloting, making sudden adjustments can result in disaster. It can put you into stall and things like that. And so the principle we want to derive from Proverbs 13:11 is a little by little approach, a gradual approach, even when making changes and adjustments. We don't want to have sudden dramatic swings. Buying and selling, rapidly moving in and out of investments, trying to time the market, which is one of the great fallacies. The trick with timing the market is you've got to be right every time, because if you get out at the right time, but you get in at the wrong time, it's kind of a pointless endeavor. So not making sudden dramatic moves, making small adjustments, course corrections as you move along. Another thing that's key is to avoid experiencing what we call a recovery. We talk about that a lot in markets, but sometimes we need to realize that when we put our portfolio in the wrong place and we haven't followed a written risk management plan, then we can be in a position like many are where they're down and now they have to wait to recover. I think of recovery as kind of a good thing, but after a bad thing, right? It's like surgery. Years ago, I was operated on and I had to go into recovery. And it's good to recover, but wouldn't it be better to have never gotten that injury in the first place? I tore my ACL and had to go through the surgery and all of that. But wouldn't it have been nice to never have gone through that? Well, once you've gone through that, the point is you need to make a mental note, I'm not going to do that again. Now, what some people do is they swing to one extreme, as we talk about here on the show, and they'll go to cash, and they just never participate again. And unfortunately, a lack of growth usually means a dead-end plan. We run plans where people are heavily in cash, and we'll do projections out into the future based on real scientific data. And most people in that position just aren't going to make it. So you've got to have the growth. The challenge is, how do we get growth with risk management? And that's where we come in. And then you want to pre-position your portfolio for steady, consistent, low volatility growth. Again, gathering little by little, you'll see that increase. Gathering little by little, you'll see it increase, as opposed to hasty moves that cause your wealth to diminish or dwindle. And so saving regularly, if it's during your working years, one of the things that we work with people to help them do is establish a regular savings pattern, having money drawn automatically into your investments. Yes, we need to save into our savings and checking account, but also we need to develop a plan to make sure we're saving regularly into investment accounts that can grow. But of course, as I've said, you need to have a written risk management plan to make sure you don't experience recoveries. So a powerful principle right out of God's word. And, we know that the children of this world are wise, and often God's people are a little naive. This is a principle that God himself has set out. And if we'll just follow it, we'll experience success. We'll see that wealth increase. Well, we're talking to people every day, just like you, about this exact thing, how to develop a plan that sees your wealth increase. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to get to know you. I'd love to introduce you to my team who's helping people become financially independent every single day.